Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to Cleveland Browns Stadium for our instant analysis after Cleveland's shutout victory over the Arizona Cardinals, 27-0. Brendan Gulick and Anthony Moeglin with you, part of our BrownsDigest coverage in the Fan Nation Network on the SI Media Group. And Anthony, I got to give you a lot of credit. You definitely hit it on the head with the 27 points in terms of your prediction pregame to what reality was defensively than I was. I think the number one most important takeaway from this game is that after the first three plays of the game that Arizona ran offensively, they accumulated 35 yards in their next 45 plays. That is unbelievable. And it is partially because the Browns played terrific defense. I also thought, if we're being honest about it, Arizona offensively is inept, and it was a really tough day too in his NFL rookie debut. Not great, but an awesome day for the Browns defense.
Yeah, it was going to be an uphill battle for Arizona, regardless if it was Kyler Murray playing quarterback or Clayton Tune. One of the things that I continue to take away from this week in preparation was the fact that the defense felt like they hadn't been playing well. And frankly, they hadn't over the past couple of weeks. They started the season on that historic pace, and then they kind of fell off just a little bit and found some stuff that they wanted to correct. So it was like all week for them, it was like, hey, it felt like to me every time we heard one of them talk to the media or just even got some look into the team, it was like, hey, they're locked in and ready to go. And then add a rookie quarterback getting his first start. And to think, like, in comparison, he was picked one pick before Dorian Thompson-Robinson. So, like, that's kind of the level that he was seen at in terms of his potential. And we saw what Dorian was like against a great defense a couple weeks ago. So it was going to be a tough day for him, regardless of everything. That Browns defense was locked in, ready to go, and they proved that they're one of the better groups in all of the league.
Yeah, and look, even beyond Clayton, I mean, I just thought Arizona's offensive line had a really tough day. It did not matter which Browns defensive lineman was matched up with which Arizona offensive lineman. It was a one-sided show. Myles Garrett obviously played well, but Shelby Harris played terrific. Dalvin Tomlinson finished with 2.5 sacks. I thought he was terrific. Zadarius Smith, I thought, played well. Jordan Elliott continues to look good. His defensive line can keep playing like this. I mean, we're going to be talking about this team, being right in the thick of things deep into the year if they keep controlling the line of scrimmage.
That was one of my big takeaways from the afternoon was the interior guys. Dalvin Tomlinson, Shelby Harris, Jordan Elliott. They just were like getting after the quarterback. And we've seen that now. Like think back to last week. Shelby Harris had a huge game against Seattle. And this group, was the missing piece that this team needed over the past year or so. And they not only has it improved, but it's one of the bright spots on the entire defense that's filled with playmakers all over the field, from Myles to Denzel to JOK and Anthony Walker. I thought the defensive line, the interior, in my opinion, had one of the better days out of that entire defensive group.
We'll dive in a little bit deeper on some other topics in additional videos, including on Deshaun Watson. We'll give some injury updates more in depth and certainly talk a bit more about the defense. These are more overarching big takeaways. And I suppose in that breath, one of the takeaways in this game from quarter on especially, I remembered thinking to myself, find a way to get out of this thing as healthy as possible, because there were already a couple of injuries, especially on the offensive line. And if you paid attention to what Baltimore did to Seattle today, that was a thumping. And so, Cleveland's got to stay as healthy as they can this week, because they are going to play maybe the best team in the AFC. Baltimore might even be better than Kansas City. They're really good.
They're certainly playing that way, and it was unfortunate to watch during that second and third quarter when it felt like every couple of plays, Dewan went down and then Jed went down, and then Dewan went down again, and then finally Jed had that horrific injury. Obviously awful to see for him and such a big year for him. Sure. And awful just in general. I mean, it's just always horrible when you see something like that happen. We've seen now 3 of those this year, which is just really sad. But unfortunately, well, I guess just the nature of the beast is it's next man up. And James Hudson came in. He played a couple plays on the left side, played a couple on the right side, and he's going to see himself back on the left side again. And I think he's been a really good piece over the last couple of years for this Browns team, kind of in that swing tackle role. So it's horrible to see Jed go down, but it's next man up, and if anyone's going to get it right, it's Bill Callahan and Kevin Stefanski up front.
On the defensive side, about as good as you could have drawn it up. Second time this season that the Browns have held a team to under 100 yards of total offense. That's bananas to me. 17 passing yards in this game, 58 total yards. They were 1 for 12 on third down. They were sacked 7 times and turned it over 3 times, including a fumble and 2 interceptions. The Browns, they didn't necessarily threaten the team record of 11 sacks, but 7 is impressive. There was very little that this defense could have done better today. These are the kinds of games you walk away from going, man, okay, as a fan, you're fired up. As a defense and you say, like, okay, this is what we're capable of. Mm-hmm. Find a way to be consistent, because if you can play defense like this at this high a level sustainably, this team's going to go a long way.
Yeah, and think about what Schwartz said earlier in the week. He wanted to get away from that feast and famine defense where one series you go out and you strip the ball and you make a huge play, and then the next series you come back and you give up, a huge gain or a touchdown or this or that. I think that this was a really good, the moral of the story is we played a team that's offense is not great and a rookie quarterback, but it was building that consistency, I think, is a huge thing for them, because now they can go out and believe that, next week when things go good, they can come out and say, hey, it has to get better next drive. Or when Lamar and the Ravens make a play, all right, shut the water off, and now let's go up and go make a play and build that consistency, not only play by play, but now week by week. I thought that was a really good step in the right direction and exactly what they had been preaching all week long.
2 other unsung heroes in this game. I thought there was a different, and some definite life from the punt return unit with Prochet mm-hmm. returning punts. He's elevated to the active roster today. I thought he made a nice impact in that regard. And Corey Bojorquez 7 punts that averaged almost 60 yards. It was at 58.6 yards. And that included a 44-yard punt, which took the average below 60. I know he had one that was 70 plus, but Bojorquez has been a ridiculous weapon for this team this year. And when you have a defense playing the way it is, you are much more comfortable in situations that ordinarily you might feel like you need to go for it.
Yeah, no question. And like you think back to that 73-yarder, the momentum of the entire stadium goes and increases. We lost Brendan here. He'll be popping back in here in a second. But, the momentum in the entire stadium gets upped. When something like that happens, you punt them, you pin them deep, that defense comes out, the crowd gets into it, and really turns it up there. And, that was just one of those things that, is just such an impressive portion, of this team when you're playing that complementary football. Thought it was fantastic. So we looks like we lost Brendan there, which is no big deal, but we'll close this down, the instant analysis piece of this afternoon's game. And who lost me here too? We'll close down the instant analysis piece of this afternoon's game as the Browns welcome Arizona into town and close the door, shut it down 27-0, the final in Cleveland. Catch us on Browns Digest for more coverage of the Cleveland Browns.